Jaylen Brown says it was the refs. It might have been something else too. Plus, thoughts on the Trey Young trade. It had to happen, but maybe not for the reason you're thinking. It's right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them every Monday through Friday. Plus, you got bonus podcasts. Like they play Friday night against Toronto. They play Saturday night against San Antonio. So I got bonus podcasts coming up after those games. Everything's free. It's available everywhere. However you found us, if you're watching the show on YouTube, it's there too as well. I am John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple of books about the team. I've been covering the team for about 20 years. I've been doing this podcast for 10. FanDuel brings you today's show before tip-off Friday night. It's between 6 and 7:30. Go check out FanDuel's NBA Happy Hour for special deals dropping every Friday between 6 and 7:30. Later on, we'll get into the Trey Young trade. I know I have thoughts for sure. We'll get into some of the positive stuff from that loss to the Nuggets, mostly the role players and Anfernee Simons. But we're going to start with Jaylen Brown, more on Jaylen Brown because he made it about the refs. And you know what? Was it about the refs? Was it not about the refs? Let's get Tom Westerholm in here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Jaylen, look, I'm going to start with this. We know that you and I know that the post-game press conferences are not as simple as I ask, they answer my question. It's I ask a question, they decide they want to send a message to the league, to the officials, to teammates, to coaches, whomever. And some of what's being said, whatever percentage on whatever day, is not even meant to answer the question directly. Correct. So I think Jaylen he spent a lot of time about the refs complaining. But I don't know that we can go back and be like, the refs screwed Jaylen Brown and that was the end of the story. I think there's a lot more to Jaylen Brown's performance in this loss to Denver.
I mean, it wasn't great, right? Like the performance, which is one of the things that struck me is just in the immediate aftermath, right? Is like 33, 7 and 4 on 29 shots. And you're like, oh, good one, but it's like, it wasn't really, I mean, good for Jaylen Brown for turning himself into a player where he can put up those numbers. And it's like, man, you weren't very good today.
He's had a couple of those this season, though.
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We just did the podcast about why do they advance numbers not like Jaylen Brown? And I feel like the basketball gods were like, oh, yeah, well, we got an answer for that question. Here, watch him against the Denver Nuggets, and you'll get your answer.
Yes, and also it's interesting, right? Because I think we've had a couple of those this season, but also like we've had a lot of games where he has been really impactful the other direction, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and like, I mean, we've seen very much the duality of man in Jaylen Brown this year.
Yes,
but yeah, I mean, like it was very striking to me how much time he spent talking about the refs afterward, because it was like, I mean, listen, I 3 free throws is not a lot of free throws, right? Like that is not a lot.
That's correct.
And he does say like, hey, I drive a lot. I'm really aggressive. And you know what? He did. He did drive a lot. He did hit the ground a lot. That's all true. If the Celtics weren't where they are, and if Jaylen Brown hadn't been who he has been all year, I do think that we would be coming away from that game with a little bit of like, that's your takeaway from this game. Like Jaylen has had his head on straight the whole season. He's been awesome all season. The Celtics have been great all season. But like, if things hadn't been so good previously, I would be coming away from that game like, dog, how about the 3 turnovers at the time when like you genuinely needed every single possession? Like, how about the defensive lapses that happened in the aftermath of you saying that you're the best two-way player in the NBA? Like, maybe talk about that stuff less so than like the refs to me. Hey, also maybe make your free throws. Like you
Also,
he
yes,
shows it's a different game. Like I don't know.
he got 16 shots in the paint, so he's 3 of 6 in the restricted area. He doesn't usually go 3 of 6 in the restricted area. There had to be some kind of something there. So, on one hand, yes, Jaylen Brown probably didn't get certain calls. I didn't go back and look at every potential foul to say, was it a foul? Wasn't it a foul? I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He probably got fouled on a handful of those and should have gone to the line. And can you say that would have changed the game? Maybe. But also, Jaylen just has to own some good old-fashioned responsibility for the defensive lapses in that loss. There were a few, especially in the fourth quarter. There was one where was a few minutes left to go in the game. The Nuggets got a rebound, and here comes Jamal Murray down the middle of the floor. Classic fast break, a 3-on-2, where he's down the middle of the floor. He's got guys filling the lanes that they're not flaring out the three. Jaylen is back, but when Jamal Murray comes over the half court line, Jaylen is in the middle of the paint, but he's got his back turned to Jamal Murray. He's just kind of like slowly jogging. He's got his head over his shoulder, like, I wonder what you're going to do. I wonder where he's going to go. Instead of doing the fundamental thing, turning around, getting into position, and wherever Jamal Murray decides to make the pass, slide over, contest the shot, try to take a chart, something. He's back, but his back is to the play, and he never made an effort to get out of that. There was another play. I wish I could show these on YouTube, but we don't have the rights. There's another play earlier than that where Murray, they run a pick and roll on the right side. It was Najee who goes into the lane, and Jaylen just kind of willingly stays behind him instead of turning around. A little bit of effort, little spin move to get in front of Najee, and that you would have left the opposite corner open, which the Celtics kind of leave opposite corners open anyway. But you still had Derek White over there to kind of go kind of contest that if there was a skip pass. You have time if there's a skip pass to get there. But he just kind of left Zeke Najee there, and it was an easy pass and dunk and foul. I think it was a foul. Jaylen fouled him. Little things like that where Jaylen can say, the refs, maybe I let the refs get in my head a little bit, then that's we can sit there and be like, yes, Jaylen, you are correct. You didn't get calls.
Yeah.
But also, you cannot let that affect you. And you cannot make that as an excuse not to give effort on defense. Like you said, especially after saying, I'm the best two-way player in the league. Because, yeah, you might be the best one-on-one defender, but he gave up, I would say, 8 to 10 points by being out of position in that game, for sure.
Yeah, when you were saying that, that brought to mind one of my least favorite of his plays where Zeke Najee comes down down the baseline, Derek White blocks him, and then Jordan Walsh blocks him. And during that whole time, Jaylen Brown was the one who should have been boxing him out to get the rebound so that these blocks weren't necessary, right? And then then Najee gets it, and Jaylen just kind of reaches over him and fouls him, goes to the free throw line. That was pretty late in the fourth quarter. It's like, yeah, I think, and to your point, right? It's like if you mention hey, you want to send a message post game, you want to take one of the answers, one of the questions, and say yeah, I'm a pretty aggressive player. I feel like I should have gotten to the free throw line. That's one thing, right? Like if you do it once, but when it comes up 3 times, and it's I'm okay with a guy saying I felt like I should have gotten calls. It got in my head a little bit, and I got to own that, and I got to be better about that. That to me is fine. That's hey, I'm taking some accountability here. I'm hey, that's on me. I should have been better today. That is a normal thing that could happen in an early January game. It's just course of a long season. I let it get in my head. Won't happen again. That's my bad. Also, the refs weren't very good. Yeah. That's fine. But it's just it almost he's talked about the refs a lot this season. Yeah. And I think that was reflected in yesterday's postgame.
And look, this happens, right? Like I'm not upset about the loss at all. Like it happens. Denver without Jokic, still good. They've got legitimate depth. Jamal Murray played great. He was great. You were saying it before we started. He had 17 assists, and they were all like legitimate assists.
Direct assists. One dribble on all 17 of his assists. The most ethical 17 assists you will see.
He
created all those buckets.
He was awesome. Denver was great.
Peyton Watson is awesome. Like that guy's going to be good.
He's good. He's really good. So, okay. So you lose to Denver. Big deal. No one, it's not like I'm sitting there going like, oh my God, Jaylen, you screwed the Celtics. Like, no. And I would not have even done this segment if it wasn't for like, you know what? Jaylen really talked about the refs a lot. And it, for a guy who says, I'm not going to make excuses. This is the one thing that actually comes off as an excuse. So many of the things that he says, I'm not going to make excuses. We had this, and this. I'm like, that's actually not an excuse. It's actually a good explanation.
Yeah.
We want explanations. Like there's a distinct line between explanation and excuse.
Yes.
The ref thing, taking 3 answers out of 5 or 6 that you were asked, questions that you were asked, to turn it into the refs didn't give me the calls. That is the excuse making. That, one mention, like you said, okay. But then it's like, again, like, all right, we get it. Yeah, we get it, Jaylen. You didn't get the calls you were expecting. So what? Now you open yourself up to people like me being like, so what? That didn't stop you from getting into position to stop a fast break in the fourth quarter. That didn't get you into position or out of position when Sam Hauser was calling for a switch. You were in a zone and you just didn't go where you were supposed to go. It just doesn't excuse you for these other things. And if the refs being in your head is a problem, then I'm sorry. You can't, we talk about what holds him back from being an MVP. Well, this is where you got to play through it. Like have a 40-point game, win the game, come up clutch, finish this thing off and win that game. And then you go say, hey, you know what? By the way, the refs. So that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this. I still think Jaylen is a legitimate MVP candidate. I still think having an amazing season. I still think Jaylen is absolutely, he should stay. And it's like him and Jayson Tatum, and that they have a strong chance of winning a championship. Yeah. None of my opinions about Jaylen change at all. But if you're going to do this, then you got to be ready for the backlash. That's the only thing I'm saying about Jaylen when it comes to this. There were positives, though. There were other positives. Anfernee Simons, we should be talking more about Anfernee Simons. So let's talk more about Anfernee Simons when we come back.
You brought me on.
Always good to talk to Tom about Anfernee Simons. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, it's the Friday show, which means Friday before the game. It's NBA happy hour on FanDuel. Go check it out. You're going to get all sorts of boosts, bonuses, surprises between 6 and 7:30 Eastern. Open up the app right before the games start, or actually with the Celtics, it's a 7 o'clock game. So you get a little extra bonus during the game. So check it out every Friday from 6 to 7:30, NBA happy hour. Timing is perfect. Right before the weekend starts, it gets you a little extra energy there on FanDuel. Now, when you open up the FanDuel app, they're going to ask you to set a limit, set a budget. Please do that so you can gamble responsibly, have some fun with it, but don't go overboard. Whatever you can afford to lose in case you do hit a cold streak, that's what you should put in as your budget. Then you can go and log in and have some fun every Friday from 6 to 7:30 at the NBA happy hour. A little basketball, a little NBA action, a whole lot of Friday for energy. Only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics the number one Celtics podcast on the planet, on the number one sports podcast network on the planet. That's the Locked On Podcast Network, number one sports podcast network. It's incredible. It's all thanks to you, the everydayer, people with me every Monday through Friday. I can't thank you all enough for being regulars, for being with me. Agree with me, disagree with me, that's fine. But we're here, we're having our conversations, and they're coming from an honest place. And I think that's why people like to enjoy the show on a Monday through Friday basis. So thank you. Let's get back to the conversation coming out of that Denver game. Anfernee Simons, I mentioned this on the podcast last night at post game, where I feel like Simons is definitely more comfortable here. I brought up a couple of times that his locker was empty weirdly to start the season. He's like, now just a normal locker. He's just got a normal NBA player with, sneakers and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, maybe he's feeling more comfortable. It makes me wonder what Brad Stevens has said to him. I think it would be smart. We've talked about it, to keep him around.
Yeah.
Unless a no-brainer deal comes up. And I think maybe that message is coming across. He's more comfortable, and we're seeing a much more comfortable Anfernee Simons now.
Yeah, it makes me feel a little bad for him that now we're seeing more Zubac rumors, right? Like, where it's like, come on, let him cook, let him live, let him be a little bit. I mean, listen, I'm on record as a big Anfernee Simons guy. I listen, this is what I wanted to see from him, like this level of, like, obviously, coming off the bench, not coming off the bench, whatever it is, but just this level of comfort, this level of, like, explosive scoring ability, right? Where it's like, if he hits one, it's like, oh boy, buckle up. This could get good. But more importantly, and this has almost nothing to do with basketball, because you could also say this about one of the least popular players in Celtics history. The way he plays is so smooth and so aesthetically pleasing. Like, I just love watching him hoop. And I think it's one of the things that I've kind of learned about myself as I've gotten older is, like, as my body gets less mobile, I start to really respect the guys who can do all kinds of, like, crazy stuff and who just play the game in this smooth, fluid way. He's crafty, but also, like, he's got this fluidity about the way that he gets into the paint, the way he creates shots. It's really impressive to me, the way that, like, he can get the ball at the top of the key with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Everybody knows what he's going to do. He doesn't have time to get past the center, but he can still hit him with the step back, still create enough space, still get a shot off with, like, lightning quick, just, get that thing up in the air and headed toward the rim. There's very little you can do about it. That's not an easy skill. It's a very useful one. Because sometimes your offense is going to break down, and sometimes you do have to get out. You have to create something, and you've got 4 seconds to do it. You got a guy like Anfernee Simons. You've got a guy who can do that. I don't know, man. The positives and the negatives are all very out there. They're very negative, or they're very nakedly out there, right? You know what you're getting with Anfernee Simons. Yeah, I just love watching the guy hoop. It's a pleasure to watch a guy like that play basketball.
Yeah, he is like. He knows exactly how to set up a defender. And that's what a lot of this is. It's how do you set the defender up? So even though they know you like to do a certain thing, you still do it anyway, because they have to respect a drive. They have to respect this move. They have to respect a couple of different things for different players. And so just for knowing as an offensive player that you always have a 1 second head start, because they have to react to when you do a step back, the defender has to be like, stop, go back. So you always have that second to create your space. And when you've got that step back down and you've mastered that shot, and they have to respect other things that you do, that's what makes great players great and great scorers great. And, maybe he's a great scorer and not a great overall quote unquote player, but he is, like, when the whole point of the game is to put the ball in the basket, and he puts the ball in the basket. This is why the concept of keeping him at a mid-level deal, if they can, is so tantalizing to me, because I'm not opposed to the original plan, right? If Zubac comes available, then great. Then sorry, Simons, like, he's played his way into a position where, you know what, Simons Simons could be a good part of whatever we're doing, and great, we'll watch you We'll watch you after the Celtics, for the first half before we fall asleep. But you can't get a scorer of his level anywhere else. The Celtics do not have the financial capability to go get an Anfernee Simons type.
Correct.
So you have him, you have his bird rights, you can sign him to whatever theoretically. So if you can get him at that space, at the, he seems comfortable here now. He gets the role, he gets the teammates, he gets the coaches. Well, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Jaylen and Jayson, with however the team is constructed, and Simons coming in off the bench, playing with one of those two guys.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And like the amount of buckets you can get with Jaylen, Jayson, Simons, and Pritchard. And then, by the way, you've got one of the genuine smartest players in the NBA in Derek White out there. Also, I don't know how logical this is, but this does kind of transition us into one of the other role players we wanted to talk about. Brad Stevens can just go to the bargain bin and get bigs, man. Like you got to go out and you got to spend a bunch of whatever to get Zubac. Just get that guy. Have Brad Stevens pick one out of the G League. Have your development team that apparently can just turn whatever big man they get their hands on into gold. And then keep the bucket getter. Because like you said, bucket getters like Anfernee Simons they don't grow on trees. You don't just get them. You certainly don't get them out of the G League. You know what I mean? Whereas the Celtics development staff with bigs, like they seem to have something figured out, man. Because Queta's been great. Queta was awesome yesterday. And Queta was the guy that everybody was like, the Celtics, us included. When I say everybody, I very much mean us. Everybody was like, oh yeah, you're going into an NBA season with Neemias Queta as your starting big. And the Celtics were like, yeah, we got it. And it was like, all right, bet. We were wrong. My bad. You guys can just turn whatever big into, Midas touch him. And there you are.
I personally do not recall saying not anything negative about Neemias Queta ever. I don't think
you've long been. Him, Joel Embiid, Trey Young, just guys that you've always been very high
always. On. Now listen. I would never put Neemias Queta into that class of no. I legitimately didn't. You know what? What I'll explain the Queta thing when we come back because this is going to be we'll talk about it when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. No, we do not want a new you. It's not about reinvention. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Get to the best you. You don't have to recreate anything. What's holding you back? Maybe an outside perspective can help you get a little bit better idea of your emotions, your motivations, your relationships. BetterHelp can be a great place to start for that because their therapists are fully licensed in the United States and work under a strict code of conduct. They help match you with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all of that legwork on your own. And that's the toughest part about finding a good therapist is, number one, all of the legwork to find somebody, and number two, finding that person and hoping that it's the right fit. With BetterHelp, if that person isn't the right fit, you can switch to somebody else from their tailored recommendations at any time. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists, and live sessions average about 4.9 out of 5 ratings across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You want to enhance your experience? Join the Everydayer Club. By doing that, by going to LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com, you get to get ad-free audio. So no ads in the Everydayers Club. You also get access to our Discord server, merchandise drops, and more. $5 a month, or if you want to pay the whole year up front, it's $50 for the year. Get that to pay that to get to the Everydayers Club. LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. All right, Tom, Neemias Queta. For people who are new to, oh, John, why did you hate Neemias Queta? I never hated Neemias Queta. I still think he has limitations. I still don't think that he's a starting I don't think he's a starting center. Like if he's your starter in the NBA Finals, I still have questions about like how that's going to go. Mostly because the limitations that he has, I think, can be picked on by a good coach with 7 games to game plan. And I just don't think that he allows for a lot of that versatility. Now, that doesn't mean he can't play in an NBA Finals. I think he can. I think he's going to be, I think he's a better backup. But that does not take away from he's been great. He has learned a lot. He has gotten better. And I also want to say this. I've seen this about Jaylen Brown. I've seen this floating out there. I see this about Queta. The one thing that just bugs me to no end is, well, he's always been like this. You're just the moron that didn't see it. Like, no, you know what? That's actually disrespectful. Not to me. I don't care. But it's disrespectful to the player who actually did improve, who worked and got better and reached new heights. Like, if you're just sitting there being like, you're telling me that these people, these players, that Jaylen Brown has always been like this and he has never improved once, then what the hell is he doing in the summer? Why is he spending all that time underwater? You're telling me that Neemias Queta hasn't improved at all? I just didn't see it? No, he has improved a ton, and maybe you had confidence that he would improve and get better and all of that stuff, but he has gotten better. He has worked very hard to prove people like me wrong. And I have no problem saying he's proven me wrong, but it's because he has gotten better. And I think that by saying that, it gives him the proper respect for like the work that he's put in. He has put in the work. He's figured out screens. He's figured out how to get in and out of screens better. He's playable. He's switchable, to some degree. And so, yes, he still has limitations. Of course he does. But I want to make sure that he gets the full credit for the work, the effort, learning, and growing, which he has.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, once you get to the NBA, it's like everybody, I think you're right. It is far more disrespectful to be like, this guy was always this good, because the truth about getting to the NBA is everybody's got crazy, physical abilities by the time they get to the NBA. It's like, that doesn't make you special. Like Neemias Queta's potential was not what made him special at the start. What has made him a starting quality at least regular season starting quality center in the NBA is the work, is the time and energy and focused attention that he has put in. That's what did it. And that's really hard to do. Like that's a lot harder than having just natural characteristics that make you an NBA player. It's like, no, to get better, to improve to this degree that requires the thing that is worth praising, which is why we're here saying, Neemias Queta had 20 rebounds yesterday. That's very impressive. He was really good yesterday. 20 rebounds in 25 minutes. Like that is it's a pretty ridiculous total. But yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think that's the right way to look at these guys improving. Everybody has the potential, and it just comes down to who's gonna like. You can't confidently sit here and say, this guy is for sure going to be good. This guy is for sure not, because we don't know what's going on inside these guys' heads. Like, we don't know. We don't know what level of work they're going to put in. Only they know it. And then to some degree, the team seems to be able to, kind of pick out like, this guy's got something. This guy's got a level of attention to detail, a level of work ethic that we want to tease out. We want to see what he can do with it. And I mean, all last season, all we heard was Joe Mazzulla talking about Queta, saying like, he's got the potential. He's just got to put in the work. He's got the potential. He's just got to put in the work. Yeah. And that's what happened. Like Joe Mazzulla saw it. The Celtics apparently saw it. Queta himself had to see the vision too, and had to embrace that vision and go get it. And, genuinely huge good for him for doing that. That's really impressive.
All right, let's get to another player that I love greatly is Trey Young. So here's what we're going to do. We're at the 30-minute mark of the podcast. We'll talk Trey Young trade for a couple minutes here. Then we're going to go into a bonus segment that will be YouTube only, YouTube exclusive. So if you're listening and you want to hear me like trash Trey Young and all of that stuff, we'll do a little bit of it now. Then we're going to carry it over to YouTube, so you can have to watch that segment on YouTube a little bit later on. So let's just start with this. We were right. We've been right. This is, I'm probably going to do the thing that I always like, that I just said I don't like, but it's a bit of vindication for, things that I've been called a hater for so long. And I've carried this over into certain like shtick levels for sure.
Yeah.
I've definitely played up the disdain for what Trey Young has been, but also I've been right. We have been right. Because you're right there with me.
I've been right there with you this whole time. Yep.
The getting traded at 27 years old for 34-year-old CJ McCollum, Corey Kispert, and zero picks, no swaps, no nothing. Just, hey, yeah, you know what? I'll take CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, and we'll call it a day. Mikal Bridges went for 6 first-round picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's different. You can't always compare this stuff.
Yeah.
But initial reaction is Trae, like, what a smack in the face. You said, fine. You know what? I will go. I'll get out. I'll get traded. No problem. You don't want me. I'm out. And then the Wizards are the only team is like, oh,
right.
Yeah.
No problem. You trade me. I'll go to the Wolves. I'll go to the Nets. I don't even care. And the Wolves and the Nets are like,
will you?
Nah.
We're flattered. We're flattered,
Yeah.
Trae.
Thank you, Trae. Thank you,
Trae, so much. That means so much to us that you would consider us. We're flattered. We're in a relationship already. We're taken. And
if I wasn't in a relationship, maybe we could get coffee. But like,
you know how it is. But oh my God, but thank you. And then the Wizards are sitting there with like one flower, that drooping daisy, like that still has the roots at the bottom. Like, we'll take you. So you get that smack in the face, and then it's like, all right, well, how many picks did I go for? Because these guys measure themselves, by how many picks you get traded for, and it's like, oh, none. Yeah. I'm going to take the 34-year-old guy who's still good. Like CJ McCollum's still good, but it's like he's okay, he's fine, he's still good. And Corey Kispert, who's can hit some shots on the wing, like he'll be a nice bench player, a nice like role player for the Hawks, but like, come on. So right away, it's like, just Trey Young has to be sitting there like, so this is what it's come to. This is how it like at 27 years old, you got to go to Washington and rebuild everything. So I kind of hope that he takes this path to redemption that's right there in front of him. Yeah. There's like this whole thing right there where I am telling everybody I'm willing to come around on Trey Young if he says, you know what, this was a real, kick below the belt. I realized some things about how I'd carried myself. I realized some things about, how I've been, and I rededicated myself. I'm happy to stay in Washington and work something out and be part of a winning situation. And if he has that kind of thing, I'd be like, okay, all right, I'm open to it, because we all love a redemption story. So as much as I'm ha-haing, it's not, I don't actually have a personal vendetta against Trey Young. I just have hated how he's carried himself. If he wants to open himself up to that, I'm more than willing to come around on him.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say, I assume before we switch over, is just like, honestly, man, I saw this come across and I was like, I'm weary of war. This is depressing. Like, it's like, it's like that weird feeling of like, I mean, obviously we were right. Like, obviously we were. Like, this was an easy one. This was a layup. Like, not thinking that Trey Young was not a winning player was like, I mean, it was pretty obvious if you watched, if you really like took the time to be like, to I don't know, like it wasn't some kind of mystery. It wasn't hard. He wasn't a winning player, and like, I don't know, he does some things well, and I would love to. I like basketball, man. I don't want to be like, I don't want to just be a hater all the time. Right. I don't want to be. That's not fun. It's not fun to be a hater. It's fun to watch good basketball. And like Trae Young hasn't been playing good basketball for a while. So like when I watch Trae Young, I'm like, especially when people are like, hey, like, you know, Trae Young's an all-star. Trae Young's a superstar. It's like, no, he's not. He's just not. He hasn't been good for a while. He hasn't made his team better in any meaningful way in a while. Like, anyway, and this, you know, this is to some degree, this is like, you know, just to some degree, it's just bad timing for the Hawks. It's, you know, hitting the market with your star player at the worst possible time to hit the market. It's partly that, but it's also a validation of everything that you and I have been saying for 5 years at this point. Like, we have not been Trae Young guys for a while, and we were right.
All right, this is a good point to carry the conversation over. We're going to continue the Trae Young conversation. There's more, because I think the CBA had a big role in this, and I'll explain what I'm talking about in the bonus. We're going to save it YouTube exclusive bonus content on that will post separately from the show. So right now, Tom, thank you very much for hopping on. Appreciate you, Tom. Appreciate all of you listening, watching, being everydayers, being with me every Monday through Friday. Again, bonus podcast coming up. They play Toronto and San Antonio Friday, Saturday. I will be there at those games. I will have bonus podcasts after those games. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube if you'd like, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.